Hello and welcome to the two-man power trip of wrestling. I'm your host, JP John Poz. With me today, very special guest, former GCW World Heavyweight Champion, former CZW World Heavyweight Champion. Of course, you can see him every week on MLW. Who's Mr. Rickey Shane Page. RSP, welcome to the two-man power trip. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I love the name of your podcast. Two Man Power Trip is one of my favorite angles that ever happened in wrestling.
Yeah, little Austin and Triple H. Yeah, it
Yeah,
didn't
when they had all
last
the
long
belts,
enough though.
when
Yeah,
they had all the belts, it was sick.
I feel like it didn't go long enough. I think Triple H got hurt, but yeah, it kind of ended too soon
No,
almost.
I agree. I agree.
So with you, what's going on in your world? I know you said you're busy, you're tired. You were in San Francisco kicking Vinny Massaro's ass. So what's going on?
I was out at West Coast Pro. Well, Vinny was kicking my ass really, but I love working out there. San Francisco's a great room. They had a huge crowd. West Coast Pro is one of my favorite places to work, and yeah, it was fun. I had to take the red eye home. Ended up sitting on the tarmac for 2 hours because something happened, and then I almost missed my connecting flight. And then once I got on that flight, I had to sit on that tarmac for like an hour. So it was one of those travel days. But yeah, now I'm here doing a podcast.
Nice. So what's going on with MLW? How do you feel about being a part of Major League Wrestling?
I'm stoked. Like I used to watch MLW like back in the day on the Sunshine Network. Like it kind of filled that ECW spot when ECW closed down, and it had a lot of the cool guys from ECW that I liked, and then a lot of the guys that were from the indies, like from CZW and Ring of Honor and stuff, like with like Amazing Red and SATs and those kind of guys and Sanjay. So like to be a part of MLW now I'm like, kind of marking out because again, I loved indie wrestling when I was younger, and I was very much kept up on everything. So to be there now and those three letters kind of mean something to me. So I'm super stoked. I couldn't be more happy.
How did you get into MLW? I know it was a little bit ago, but how did you kind of get in? How did they kind of recruit you in?
Uh, I think the last Battle Riot just kind of hit me up, and I was like, yeah, I could do that. And then I did that. That was last year, sometime maybe around September, I think, when they filmed that. I can't remember. And then yeah, they hit me up again, and I was in Japan, and they were like, "Oh, can you do this show?" And I was like, "Yeah, I get back like that day, but yeah, I can do that." So that was a real hellish travel schedule as well. I went from Tokyo to Honolulu, Honolulu, San Francisco, wrestled in San Francisco, took the red eye from San Francisco, landed in Philly the day of the show, slept for an hour, went to the show and wrestled Mance Warner. So
Wow, holy shit!
yeah, it was pretty wild. And then yeah, I think I'm pretty sure MJF was really pushing for me because he's a very good friend of mine, and yeah, I think that's kind of like what it is. Because the last time I showed up, everybody was like, "Max keeps talking about you," and I was like, "Oh yeah, we're like good friends." Like, so shout out to MJF for that.
Wow, he's actually being nice to somebody rather than throwing a water on him or whatever he was doing. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean that's like, come on, it's like I've known him for like a long time. That's like two nice things he's done for me. So
yeah, that doesn't really it counts a little bit, but yeah, it doesn't count a lot.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's not the best dude in the world. He's just every once in a while he's a glimmer of hope of being a nice guy.
Yeah, I'll throw this guy a bone. I'll tell him I like him, and he's good.
Yeah.
I'll put him over a little bit. When you look at it, like with the battle riot, it's funny. It was a while ago, but it just aired. I think it was 3 weeks ago. It just aired, so it's very fresh on everybody's mind on Real or the Reels channel. But the Fusion
Yeah.
episode, the battle riot, was just on, so it's very fresh in everyone's mind seeing it.
Yeah, I love battle royals and Royal Rumbles. They're so much fun. There's so much you can do with it, and there's so many surprises and things like that. And I had a blast. I was in there with a bunch of people that I like. Like Killer Cross, like big fan of him. Like one of my friends, like Juicy, Sammy Callahan, like the list goes on. Like Savio Vega was in that thing. You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
it was real cool. So like I like those kinds of matches. So it's fun. I'm glad that people dig it and that people are into it, and that it seems like MLW is doing really well. So I'm along for the ride.
Yeah, it's funny. I was just talking to somebody the other day about like Battle Riot because he had been watching it too. It's like, man, I don't know if it's because we have such like low attention spans now, but I love these matches because it's like, boom, we get somebody else just like that. And maybe it's true. Maybe my attention span is terrible, but I was like, I totally agree. I was like, I love this match because it like keeps my attention.
No, for sure. There's always something going on. There's always some sort of action. So that's just it's that TikTok attention span really of people nowadays. So battle royals and Royal Rumbles are perfect for that.
Definitely. You mentioned Mance. Obviously, you wrestled Mance. What'd you think about that wrestling that crazy bastard old Mancer?
I mean, I've wrestled him so many times at this point. I love getting in the ring with him. Um, I wrestled him when he was young, at in CZW. He was only a few years in at that point. I was on shows with him down in the Memphis flea market for IWA Mid South. So I've been around Mance a long time, and he's great. I say it all the time. I think he's one of the most unutilized wrestlers in wrestling today. He's never booked right, and I think MLW has seen that and is starting to fix that problem. And he's wonderful. Not enough good things I could say about Mance.
How would you book him? How what would you think? How
On
somebody's doing it
top,
wrong?
on top, brother. I feel like he's the guy you book your main title around. You have him chase it, then you have him keep it for a while and just be killing people, and just talking and having blood feuds. I feel like he gets thrown in a tag team a lot, which SGC is a great unit. It works, so I get it. They're very over. But there's something about Mance that for me he's the guy you build your company around.
Not too many guys from Bucksnort either, in
No,
wrestling. I know
that's
there's only
true.
been a couple, and they're usually pretty good. Yeah. I love that. Bucksnort, Tennessee. Yeah. And, drinking the beer. Yeah. I love that. When you look at it, though, and he should booked on top, and like you think MLW said was kind of booking well, but do you think there should be more with you and him in MLW?
I would love that. Absolutely would love that. I think maybe anybody, there's not anybody that he can't work, that he can't have a good match with. I would love to do that more. Like I said, that's an avenue that I think should have been explored at other places, me and Mance, and it never really did. And I would love to do that. But yeah, there's just an intangible about him where he has that it factor, where you can't explain it, you don't know what it is, but for some reason you want to watch him. And not a lot of guys have that.
When you look at the landscape of MLW, obviously the one called Manders, he's there too. You had a match against him. Do you like where they're headed with him as well? Did you like working with the one called Manders?
Yeah, for sure. We never had been in the ring together before, and we had good chemistry. Yeah, I think they're doing a great job. Again, I think SGC is another unit that hasn't really gotten its just due, and it hasn't been quite booked properly. I think they're all stars. Matt Justice is a crazy person. Manders is just like an old school Southern kind of beat him up kind of guy. You know what I mean? They fit well
Yep.
together, and yeah, I think MLW is doing a great job with them, and I'm really looking forward to what they're going to do in the future.
Kind of like almost, I guess you could say buffet esque, where you have the different guys. I mean, obviously, like Reed is on one category. David Richards is like the supreme worker, but then you got guys like Manders, yourself, even, and Mance, and it's a completely different, like brawler esque, that kind of style.
Yeah, for sure. But they can definitely hang with those guys. Like Mance and Davey Richards would have a fantastic match. I definitely think myself, I'm like very much a hybrid wrestler where I can kind of do any style. Like I think I do really well with the luchadors. I would love to wrestle Microman. I can go with the brawlers, I can go with the high flyers, I can go with the heavyweights, and I feel like Mance and Manders and Justice, for that matter, are all very similar. So they're very versatile. So that's the kind of wrestler you need, is someone that can just get in there with anybody and have a good match every night.
Surprised about how over Microman is. Like at first, like I don't know if I get it, but then you see him live, and the crowd loves him. Yeah,
Yes,
he's over.
way over. Yeah, what's not to like? I mean, the things that he can do is incredible. So I totally get it.
Don't you think it might be a little bit of a mismatch though, you and him? You
I
you might
mean,
squash him.
yeah, maybe, or he might kick my ass. Who knows? I've seen
That
him
is
do some
such a
incredible things. So
that
you
is
never
such a
know.
funny gimmick though, Microman. Just if you look at it, it's like, wow, who is this little dude? When you look at like the landscape of MLW, who else like do you want to wrestle? Whenever we're talking Microman, we're mentioning a couple guys you have wrestled, but who else is out there in MLW you haven't wrestled that you would like to wrestle?
That I haven't wrestled.
Yeah.
Hammerstone for sure. You always want to work with the champ. Uh, Davey Richards would be great. Me and Davey I've known him for a while, and we've never touched. Real One, I'd love to get in there with Real One. I've wrestled Fatu before, but any other times I can get in the ring with Fatu, I'm ready to go. Juicy as well. There's really no one there. I mean, everybody that MLW has a great roster, and there's not anyone there that I would like. Oh, I don't want to. I wouldn't. I don't want to do that. There's like literally everybody on the roster. I'd be like, oh, I'd have a great match with anybody. Lindsay Dorado, like any of the luchadors. Like again, guys from Japan. Like this, the roster's so versatile, and they're all really good. So it's just like take your pick. You know what I mean?
Yeah, MLW is pretty loaded right now with a lot of good guys. When you look at the landscape of MLW, it does seem like Reels. Hopefully, we're hearing different things, but hopefully that's like the home that they need because the ratings were pretty good for the first few weeks. I mean, it started off pretty good, so you would hope Reels would keep it on there.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure whatever's going on isn't that big of a deal. It's getting blown out of proportion like everything else does on the internet. The ratings are good, and really, that's the bottom line is numbers. That's what people that that's all that matters is numbers and dollars and cents. You know what I mean? So, um, as far as I know, the ratings are good. The show's good. I've been watching it every week. It's there's storytelling going on. It's not too much to watch. It's an hour, just enough action, storytelling, promos. There's nothing. What's not to like? So I'm very excited. And Reels is a great channel. We got a great lead in with live PD and cops. I mean, what better way to get into some wrestling than watching someone running from a bench warrant? But so like I think it's a great relationship, and I think it's the perfect place for MLW.
Yeah, that show or On Patrol or Live PD, whatever it's called. I think it's On Patrol now. I think they changed the name, right?
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah,
Yeah. Always does good numbers. So yeah, that is a good lead in for you
yeah, it's
guys.
great.
Do you pay attention to like ratings and stuff? Like we're saying you're watching it, but do you pay attention to that stuff or that's all like internet guys do that where they're just kind of
No, I've been asking Court every week. What's been going on with the ratings and stuff. I'm very interested in that kind of stuff. Um, just numbers and things like that. I really try to pay attention to social media algorithms and things like that. I like kind of tapping into them and seeing what I can do with that. And but I also understand that it's not the entire world. So that's why I'm interested in the ratings and stuff, because to see what like a real life, like my dad doesn't have a Twitter, but my dad definitely would watch On Patrol on Reels. So I'm very interested in that aspect of the business. So I've been asking all what the numbers are all the time, and I want to get familiarized with that part of it. So it's very interesting to me.
to me, when you look at like Twitter or online and stuff, it is a small portion. I think it's like 20 or 25% of the real population. Because if you read one thing, and I won't go into another program, but like of another program, like this guy should win the belt, this guy should win the belt. Then when you go to the live show and this other guy is super over, it's like, wait, that's weird. I thought Twitter said this guy was, but the real life is the other guy. It's very interesting how that works with online. It's a very small
Yeah,
portion of
it's
fan base.
there's 77 million active Twitter users. That's it. That's 20% of the US population. You know what I mean? Like that's nothing. Those and now dwindle that down even further to just wrestling fans. Dwindle that down even further to like indie wrestling fans. Like it's fractional. So people, because it's so in your face all the time, people think that's the entire world, but it's really not. It's really not.
That's why I always laugh when they're like, "Oh, doom and gloom," and then all of a sudden MLW's on Reels and it does good ratings. It's like, I don't know, like, yeah, you guys are only 20% of the audience saying, some of that stuff. It's not true, not true at all. Way
No,
off base.
for sure. And I think people sleep on MLW, the online world, for whatever reason, and I don't know why, because they have great production, great roster. Everybody there is amazing. They draw great crowds. Like I don't get it, but that's kind of one of my goals with signing is like I just want to get our asses and eyeballs on MLW. That's my main goal.
Yeah, when you look at it, and I've been to a bunch of MLW shows, the crowd is always hot and it's always usually pretty damn crowded in there. Like they usually have a great crowd.
Dude, that last show was packed and they were hot the whole time. And it was a TV taping. It was quite a bit of matches, and they were hot the whole time. And in Philly, one of the most notoriously crappy crowds of people just waiting for you to mess up and crap all over what you're doing, like notoriously mean. And they are up the whole time, having a blast. MLW putting on a good show. So yeah, it's great.
They're waiting to shit on you. You know what I mean? The
Yeah.
Philly crowd, they're waiting for it. Yeah.
But it's really not like that anymore. Like I feel, well, at least at the MLW, maybe it is at other places, but MLW, everybody was cool.
Yeah, the crowds are usually pretty good, just as far as positivity, and not like maybe some old school Philly crowds were like CCW crowds maybe were a little ruckus
For sure.
and maybe a little nuts. Yeah, for sure, definitely on that. With your signing though, are you allowed to say like how long and how long you're going to be there and stuff, or you don't want to get into
It's a multi-year deal.
it? Okay.
Yeah, it's my first ever contract with any promotion, so
Oh wow,
I'm
nice.
really excited about that. Yeah, and yeah, I'm just super pumped, and I'm gonna be working backstage as well, agenting with some of the wrestlers. So that's something I'm very interested in is that part of it. Because you can't wrestle forever. You can't take bumps forever. So I'm definitely looking to build the resume on that side of things, and I think MLW is a perfect place for me to do that. And yeah, I'm super pumped. I'm just like I can't wait to like get to work. You know what I mean? Like I'm just excited about doing things. Like I feel like I want there to be a show every day, so I can just get there and put my nose to the ground and just work hard and make MLW the biggest thing it can be. That's really my goal. Is like I said, I just asses and seats, eyeballs on MLW. Like that's my goal. Like people sleep on MLW for whatever reason, and I'm gonna change that. Like I'm gonna do whatever I can to help elevate them. Like because they're great and they've been treating me so good. I have no complaints. Like wonderful people run MLW, and they really treat the wrestlers right, which is rare nowadays. And I have no complaints.
Interesting. The agenting part, I did not know that. That's pretty cool, and
Yeah.
something like you said, you've been around for a long time. I mean, right? Almost 20 years in the business. So, I mean, you got some
22.
knowledge. Yeah, you got some
Yeah.
knowledge to pass on, right?
Yeah. I'm really excited. When they asked me that, I was very pumped. Yeah.
Were you surprised at that, or was that something you were looking forward to doing?
I've done it before for other places. For Progress Wrestling, they've had me do it a couple times. I was a bit surprised that they asked me, but it's definitely something I have a little bit of experience in, and definitely something I'm interested in and want to do more. So I was very excited because doing it on the indies is a bit different than doing this is like an actual TV product, so it's a bit more hands on. It's not live TV, obviously, but like yeah, I'm just super excited about it because, like I said, it's a skill set that I like, and I feel like a lot of times I have better ideas for other people than I do for myself. So, and I just like working with talent and helping them see things differently that they might not have thought of, and just sharing knowledge because I feel like when I was younger, a lot of people didn't. It was very different back then, and it was very closed off, and people were very much trying to get you out. And the few people that did help me, I remember them forever, and I always have like a positive outlook on those people that did give me advice. Like like Tracy Smothers is a guy who always gave everybody advice. He was so nice. He would sit and watch the whole show and come talk to you, and he was never mean or vindictive in any sort of way. He was just there to help, and that's really an example I try to live up to because Tracy was one of the best. And yeah, it's just it sucks when when you get into wrestling and you feel like you're all alone because no one's telling you, and then these kids they get yelled at or they're like, oh, they're bad, they suck, and it's like no one's telling them, no one's helping them. So like you need that. So I like doing that, and I'm really excited about that part of it.
That is like a nice little wrinkle too, because it's like double duty, or you're doing a lot of extra work. But I mean, like you said, it's fun, and you like passing on the knowledge. You want to do it. That's kind of like a nice little caveat for them, or a nice little
Yeah,
throw in. Like, hey,
yeah.
let's have you an agent too.
Little player coach action.
Yeah, exactly. Like you wrestle 1 minute, then you be agenting the other. Do you know like who you be working with, or it could change?
I think it's just gonna. I'm not sure yet. But I'm sure it's gonna change every show, but I'm not sure how their system is set up. Because I've only been twice now, so like I still need to. And the couple times I've been there, I've been on like the craziest travel schedule in my life, so I wasn't really paying attention because I was so tired. But yeah, I'm not exactly sure, but I'm sure it's gonna change. But there's everybody there that's in the locker room is like they're all pros, so I'm sure it's not gonna be hard work for me to be honest, because they're all so good. So I'm just really looking forward to it.
When you are there, right, and you're kind of like soaking it in. I know on TV, like, they're kinda teasing the thing with Raven and Akira and stuff like that, but do you, like, kinda gravitate to a guy like Raven? Because it's somewhat similar style, I guess you could say, or kinda like similar vibe, right? I mean, so d is that, like, a guy you gravitate to when he's backstage?
100%. Raven was one of my favorites growing up. I definitely model a lot of the things I do after him. Definitely promos. Yeah, I think anyone would be stupid not to. go to these guys, you know, like, Nunzio and Raven, and when Savio Vega was around, and Hugo, like these guys that have just been there, done everything. Why would you not go talk to them? Why would you not want to get their input on something? Listen, it might not work for you, but you might be able to take what they said and make it work for you. And I think that's another part of where people are confused when they work with agents. They think that like, this is my way or blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, we're just suggesting, and then you can take it and make it yours. So, yeah, why would you not go talk to Raven? He's done it all everywhere. He's one of the best. So 100% one of the people that I gravitate towards.
Nice little rub on TV too, right? You know, saying,
Not too
"Hey,
bad.
this guy's got a relationship with Raven." Yeah.
Not too bad.
With him though, is he a guy that's approachable, easy, gives you stuff? Because he almost seems on the surface to be like a little bit like not puzzling, but like almost like, man, he seems like an enigma. Like
I think
maybe that's more the gimmick though.
I think so, but I think he's a bit like that in person, but he has been nothing but good with me. I think he's just intimidating because of who he is, not necessarily because of that's how his personality is, but super, uh, you know, outright with like knowledge and helping. And like a few days after the taping, like I just got like a random text and I was like, "Hey, it's Raven." And I was like, what? I was like, hey, man. And so, he like reached out outside of the show, to talk about stuff. And I don't know how he got my number. I have no idea because I didn't give it to him. So you sought out my number to talk to me about something, a few days after the show. So definitely someone who's there to help and teach, which is amazing.
Seemed like he was like anti wrestling for a while, but man, he's back in. He's like loving it again, doing some NWA stuff, Impact stuff, obviously mainly with MLW. But it just seems like he's back loving the business again.
I mean, yeah, you've been in the business as long as he has. I mean, he started in the late 80s, he's like, you just get fed up with it at some point, but then you take a little break and you're like, oh man, I really miss it. Like, I do love it. Like, oh, God, it got me back. You know what I mean? So I'm sure that's what he was going through. And yeah, I mean, again, he's a legend, and to have him at my disposal is amazing.
Random question: how big are you technically? Like height wise, how tall are you?
I'm 6'4",
Yeah,
shoot
okay.
6'4".
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was gonna say, it seems like you're like a bigger guy. Just nowadays in wrestling, you just seem even taller for some reason. You know what I mean? Because a lot of the guys aren't as big. So I was like, I think he's about 6'4", but I've seen him wrestle. I was like, he might even actually be bigger. But yeah, I was just curious of.
Yeah, no one ever thinks I'm big because of the way I wrestle, because I can kind of move pretty well for my size.
Right? Yeah. Yep.
But people meet me and they're always like, "Oh my God, you're huge," and I'm like, "Yeah, man, I know." And yeah, people are very much like smaller nowadays. Because back in the day, 6'4", 300 pounds is Billy Gunn probably. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Like people thought X-Pac was like tiny. X-Pac's like 6'1",
Yep.
so it's like those guys were giants. But yeah, 6'4", about 300 pounds right now. So yeah, big boy.
It's just like one of those things where in like today's wrestling, I don't know why. Like what happened to like the big men? I mean, obviously it changed. The guys are way more athletic nowadays. Back then, the big men weren't as athletic, barring a few guys, of course. But it just seems like such a change where it's like, wow, damn, 6'4". Like what? This guy's a monster. I mean, obviously you're big, but it's just like it's just a change in the shift of wrestling for sure.
For sure. I'm not sure when it started happening. Probably Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart. I think maybe it was the beginning of it. Kind of. Even
Yep.
those guys are still pretty big, but
Yeah,
yeah,
6'1". Yeah, they're both
yeah.
big.
But like, I don't know. I don't think it really matters as long as you're good and you can make it work. Whatever. You could be 9 foot tall or you could be Microman. As long as you make it work, you make it work.
Like you said, do you like that style? Like you're kind of, you're bumping and feeding and stuff. I mean, you're working, but you're big, but you're working. Or do you think you maybe, screw it, I'll work more like Vader and just destroy people? Like, what's the
So
thought process?
when I was younger, 100%. I want to be a cruiserweight so bad. I wish I was Rey Mysterio.
Wow.
I hate that I'm big. I want to win the WCW cruiserweight title so bad. But it's just not in the cards for me. So when I was younger, definitely was doing a lot of stuff that I probably shouldn't have been doing, that I okay, but not good enough to really stick with. And as I got older, I learned to shy away from that and to stick with the few things that I am good at. And definitely wrestle like a big man nowadays. Just I don't know why. Maybe because I don't want to take the bumps, after 22 years of wrestling. But I actually just enjoy it, and it's different than what I used to try to do. So it's fun for me to. I like to know all the aspects of wrestling and to try to be good at all of it. So wrestling like a big man is somewhat new for me. In the last like 4 years, I started doing it, and I totally enjoy it.
When you look back at like some of the stuff you've done in your career, like what kind of sticks out? Does this GCW stuff, does that stick out a lot to you? Because that was like a big time for them with the MDK feud against the Ohio boys and you guys and stuff. That just seemed like a really big moment for you in your career, just kind of ascending maybe to MLW eventually, obviously.
For sure. I think it was definitely a big moment. I wouldn't say the biggest. I definitely going to Japan for me is like the top thing that I've done next to signing with MLW. But the run with Nick Gage was one of my best things I've ever done, and still gets talked about to this day. And I'm very proud of that whole process. Um, yeah, it was just like lightning in a bottle, and you'd probably never be able to recreate it again. And just happened at the right time, like with the pandemic and injuries, and like, it couldn't have played out better. Um, I really enjoyed doing that feud. It was very fun.
Seemed like you kind of got one up on him, like surprising. It's like, wow, can Gage beat this guy? You know what I mean? It seemed like a really good storyline, just as far as like, shit, this guy's the champ. I don't know if Gage can beat this guy. This guy's huge. Not that Nick's small, but it's just like this guy's freaking huge. I don't know if he's gonna be
Yeah.
able to beat him. It was a good dynamic. It was good booking too by GCW. I like the way they went about it.
No, I don't know if GCW was booking it, but yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Maybe you were booking it. Okay. There were
we'll
maybe the back to the agenting part and
we'll
the
leave it
booking
at that.
part. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. It, put it this way: whoever was doing it was done well. Yes. Yes. Hat tip to somebody. I may be looking at him, but hat tip. Yeah. You mentioned though Japan DDT. Like you said, how did that happen? Like, how did you get over there?
So DDT. I've been to Japan 7 times. I did 5 tours with BJW, Big Japan, in
Yep.
2019, and then I stopped doing ditches, and the pandemic happened, and I was like, man, I'm never gonna get to go back, probably, And then someone from DDT hit me up like out of nowhere, and it's literally that's how it happened. And I think just because I had been to Japan so many times before, and someone knew me and suggested me to DDT, and that's how it worked out. And like I have a really great relationship with them. I absolutely love DDT. They really took care of me, and there's plans for me to go back. Nothing's set in stone yet, but plans for me to go back and do another tour. I love Japan. It's one of my favorite places I've ever been. I just really got lucky, honestly. Like a British company that I worked for ran a show at Cork and Hall, and they put me on the show. And and then that just led to me working in Japan more, and that was all because of my friendship with Pete Dunne. I went to England the first time I wrestled at that place. Then they kept bringing me back, and then they did a show in Spain, they did a show in Mexico, they did a show in Japan, and I just ended up on all of them. So it was just I've gotten really lucky a lot of times in my career.
See the Japanese liking you. They like their big guys. You know what I mean? The big guys that can move. They like those guys.
100%, yeah.
So as you wind it down, we head towards the finish here. What's next for you? Like, I know agenting, wrestling for MLW, but like, what's next? What's some other aspirations you've got going on?
I'm really focused on MLW right now because again, it's the first place that has taken a chance on me and given me, putting pen to paper, and I really I'm really grateful for that. So I definitely want to work hard and make them know that it was worth it. That I'm a person that is going to work hard and do what I'm supposed to do, and get more attention on MLW. But going forward is just honestly just teaching a lot. I started a new project that I have where I've started a very small indie company. It's called RCW, but it's not going to be broadcast for the world to see. The only way to watch it is to sign up for a Patreon, and it's be really geared towards younger wrestlers and teaching them how to wrestle and letting them fail, because I think the key to success is failure. But nowadays, rookies have to fail live on the internet, and everybody sees it, and it's hard. When I first started, some of the matches I had weren't even filmed. So it's hard to break that reputation of like, oh, they're not good, but really they're just young. And so this whole entire promotion is just based on that. And I'm going to have myself and other veterans there to agent, because again, that's another relationship. And once you get to like TV wrestling, that indie wrestlers they never have any experience because they don't do it on the indies. So that's going to be part of this new promotion is there's going to be agenting, and we're going to be giving them specific things. Because a lot of times it's just like, oh, you guys got 8 to 10, you're winning. And it's like, oh, okay. There's no direction a lot of times on the indies. So I'm really going to be doing that. So if anybody wants to follow that, you just go to rcwwrestling.net and you can sign up for the Patreon. And the first show is in a few weeks in Ohio. But again, room holds 50 people. No one's ever going to see it unless you sign up for the Patreon. But it's something I'm really passionate about right now, and that I'm excited to get going and to just help teach the next generation and try to leave wrestling better than the way I found it. That's always my goal.
Very cool. Very interesting too, because like you said, a lot of the rookies, yeah, they're failing and people are seeing it. It's like, man, back in your day, quote unquote, back in my day,
For
there
sure.
you didn't probably see it or it wasn't filmed or whatever happened. I remember going to an indie show and this guy, he eventually became pretty good, but he first thing he did was he tried to jump over the top rope. My God, this is like 30 years ago, and I still remember this, but he tried to jump over the top rope for his entrance and he tripped and fell. It wasn't filmed. Nobody saw it. It was just us in attendance saw it. But if that was on the internet, so like, oh, this guy, oh, they would have persecuted him
Yeah,
forever.
he'd have been on Botchamania forever, and
Yep.
he would have been the guy that fell.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
so
and
yeah,
I've seen the guy many times after. He never did that again, which is smart. Yeah.
exactly.
Sometimes you got to learn, right?
It's a
Yeah.
hard job. Like, it's really hard. Like, there's freak people like MJF who are just good at it, 2 years in. But I feel like I wasn't good at it, like really good at it until I was 10 years in. And it takes a long time. And I think people are impatient sometimes nowadays too, because it's so easy to just get a GIF or get on a show that's streaming on Fight or IWTV. So it's like people are a bit impatient, but you got to slow down and you got to really, really learn. And it takes a long time.
Steve Austin, Shane Douglas, heard a bunch of people say it took about 7 years for them to like really get it. So I mean, that's guys at the top of the craft, especially Austin. I mean, tippy top. So it takes time for sure. You're right.
My good friend Steve.
Two-man power trip. Yeah, Steve. Yeah. But of course, everybody could see MLW on REELZ. Great channel with On Patrol as well. REELZ got some good stuff. See some MLW Underground on there. What else do you expect to be doing?
Like I said, LW is my main focus. Tuesday nights, 10 p.m. on Reels. I'm really focused on that. And there's a few indies that I'm still working for, like West Coast Pro out in San Francisco, Beyond Wrestling, and then Worcester, Massachusetts. Like, I got some stuff coming up in Canada as well. I'm just trying to have good matches, teach the next generation, and just do good by MLW. Those are my goals and what I got going on right now.
Before we let you go, where can everybody find you as far as
I'm at
yourself, social media?
Rickey Shane Page on everything. Yeah, Rickey. Everybody spells my name wrong, which is fine because it's spelled weird. My dad spelled it weird, but yeah, Rickey Shane Page on everything. Like I said, rcwwrestling.net is the thing with that little promotion I'm starting. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
And of course, follow MLW on REELZ and MLW all over the social media platforms. Rickey Shane Page, Mr. RSP. Thank you so much for all the time. Really appreciate it.
No worries.